So your opponent brings out his queen in the opening and you start feeling a little nervous. You were not expecting this, so you don't know how to react. Well, if this happens with you, don't worry guys, I'm here to help. In this video, I'll give you 6 useful tips and a simple step-by-step method to not only counter but also punish any type of early queen attack. But before starting off, I would like to thank BetterHelp for sponsoring this video. Now look, the first step is to be aware of the common opening traps. So in the wayward queen attack, white is looking to capture this pawn. If you casually attack the queen like this, that's a blunder because eventually your rook is finished. Therefore, you need to save this pawn, and for that knight c6 could be a good move. Another common trap comes after bishop c4. Here, if you simply develop your knight, then we have a scholar's mate and it's game over in just 4 moves. So be careful about this as well. In most of these traps, this f7 square is going to be the main target. So stay alert to stay alive. Alright, my next tip is to develop quickly and attack the queen with tempo. This is pretty useful, especially if your opponent is obsessed with the queen assault. Since the queen is the most valuable piece on the board, you can easily attack it and force it to move around. For example, here if he tries to eliminate our knight and grab this pawn, then you can develop and attack the queen. Let's say he's still adamant about picking up this pawn, you can play g6 and again strike the sweetie. If he goes back, now you can throw a double attack. White is in serious trouble. Queen e3 results in a beautiful family fork. And if he runs here, then you can push back the bishop, open up these diagonals, and look at this. White just kept running around like a headless chicken, and in the meanwhile, we have activated all our pieces. The engine gives a massive 6-point advantage to black. So whenever you get a chance, try to gain time by attacking the queen, especially with your knights and bishops. Now sometimes your opponent's strategy is just to intimidate you by bringing out his queen early. In that case, don't panic, don't try anything fancy, just play normally. Let's say here he attacks on f7. We force him to push back. Again, there's an attack on this pawn, so knight f6. And now let's say his queen just stays there and he continues to develop his other pieces. Since there's no way you can attack this queen to gain tempo, just play normally. Develop the bishop, take the king to safety, and if he tries any of these spins, push him back. And once everything looks good, open up the game and then take advantage of your rapid development. In such games, it is important to be patient and not get too flustered by this queen. Just stick to the basics, activate all your pieces, and only then launch an attack. Okay, now the next tip I have for you is to evaluate every possible threat from the queen. For example, for this threat, g6 is the best defense and also a very good attack. Again, he is threatening a checkmate. Defense is the only option, so let's go with the tried and tested knight f6. Now, if he continues to attack with this queen like this, your natural reaction would be to defend. But if you evaluate carefully, striking with the knight could be a great option because now you start gaining tempos on the queen. Even if he takes with a check, after the king moves, white does not have any good follow-up. The queen is under attack, it can't move because it has to defend the bishop. And even if she stays on this diagonal, eventually it has to move away and you win a piece. In this way, by evaluating the queen threats, you can not only defend, but also come up with such cool little tactics and punish your opponent right in the opening. My next piece of advice is an extension of the previous one. Whenever you get an opportunity, counter-attack in the center. That's where it hurts the most. Let's say here, after knight f6, your opponent tries g4. His idea is to push away this knight and then reignite the threat on f7. Instead of playing a defensive move like h6 or g5, you can counter-attack in the center with the knight. It's a double punch, so let's say he goes all the way back and now again, you can break through in the center. If he takes, you activate the bishop and create this really deadly threat. If he tries blocking with the pawn, you have a tricky line by centralizing the other knight, offering a fork, and ultimately that results in a beautiful checkmate. Going back, instead of the pawn, if he blocks with the knight, that's also a disaster. In fact, black has a mate in 2 moves. Give it a try, and if you can find it, share your answers in the comments. Anyway, the point is that by attacking in the center, you can push your opponent on the defensive and then finish him off. My next tip to counter an early queen attack is to not be afraid of sacrificing pawns to gain activity. Here's an example. Let's try out the Scandinavian this time. The queen is out in the open, so you threaten it with the knight. He gives a check and you activate another piece. This time, he's going after the g-pawn. You might think of protecting it, but it is fine if you actually let him take. This way, black is just making queen moves all the time and you continue your assault going after it. Just look at it now. We've activated all our pieces and black has 0 development. So if you find opportunities where your opponent is running around with his queen to grab a few pawns, let him do that. Because eventually your lead in development will open up a lot of attacking options for you. Alright, now I'll show you how you can practically combine all these concepts against different type of queen attacks. But before that, I would like to thank BetterHelp for sponsoring this video. Guys, the last few months have been stressful for me and I realized that my mental health was being affected. That's when I thought of BetterHelp. BetterHelp is the world's largest therapy service and it's 100% online. When you're feeling low and your everyday life is being affected, it is very important to take the help of an expert. Well, BetterHelp has over 25,000 licensed and experienced therapists who can help you with a wide range of issues. To get started, just answer a few questions about your feelings and preferences and BetterHelp will match you to a suitable professional therapist. You can connect with your therapist at any time and schedule live sessions over text, phone or video calls however you're comfortable. And if required, you can even change your therapist at no additional charge. That makes BetterHelp so much more convenient and affordable than traditional offline therapy. So basically, BetterHelp wants you to start living a happier life right now. All you need to do is sign up with this link, betterhelp.com/chesstalk, that's better, HELP, and you'll get 10% off on your first month. Link is in the description box below, so go and check it out. So guys, I already gave you these 6 pointers to counter early queen attacks. Now let's see how you can practically apply all these concepts in your own games. This is the first game. White has gone for queen f3. From here, I want you to think along, refer these pointers and try to find the good moves for black. For starters, since there is no immediate threat at the moment, we can play a normal development move like knight f6. He adds a defender, opening up this diagonal as well. Still nothing to worry for us, so we can continue with maybe the knight or the bishop. Let's go with bishop c5. Guys, till now I have just been following basic opening principles. Okay, now again we have a queen move. Can you spot the threat from the queen? Yes, it's a double attack, so what do you play here? Is there any way to counter attack? I don't think so. So we need to protect, and since this capture would come with a check and it's a central pawn, so I don't want to lose this. Therefore let's defend and develop. So we've sacked the g pawn and he has accepted it. Obviously now we will attack the queen with tempo. h6 is the only safe square for him. As you can see, although white is up a pawn, he's already on the back foot. But how do you take advantage of your rapid development? One way could be to open up the game and counter attack in the center, which is a very good option. But there is an even better way to finish him off right away. In fact, now I have added that as a 7th point, which is quite obvious, and that is to look for tactics. So can you find the tactical idea here? Yes, it's the bishop sacrifice. If he takes, the Swede is gone. Therefore, he has no option but to move the king. What next? Now, since the king is also under pressure, you have a lot of aggressive options. You can open up the center or even gain tempos on the queen. Let's do that. The queen runs all the way back and now the bishop is under threat, so let's get the knight into action. Just look at all his pieces. They haven't even moved out and seen the world. That's pathetic. Anyway, he wants us to retreat, but do you really want to go back? I'm sure most of you want to go for the kill right away, and of course we will. King e2 was his only option and now it's easy peasy. In fact, it's a mate in 3 moves. I want you to find this on your own and share your answers in the comments. Let's see how many of you get it right. Alright, now let's look at another game. This time it is black who has actually gone for the early queen advance. At the moment there's nothing to worry about, so let's continue normally. Next move we can also attack in the center. Okay, so he has defended against it. What do you play next? Developing this bishop is a good option, but we can also attack in the center and open up this diagonal to harass the queen. Even if he takes, we can always take back. Okay, so he has defended the pawn. Again, you have a few options. You can develop the bishop with tempo or even exchange these pawns and open up this deadly d file. For the moment, let's attack the queen. What next? Now we even have the bishop on this lovely diagonal, so let's open up the center. If he takes back, that's a checkmate. So he hasn't done that. The bishop is under attack. Let's push it back. Okay, now he decides to take. You can recapture with both the knight and the bishop, but taking with the knight I feel is better because we can put a lot of pressure on this f7 square, especially if we bring out this bishop as well. Great, so the opportunity has come. Let's go for it. Plus, we are also attacking the queen. Now it's just about giving the finishing touches. From here, it is all about tactics. It's plus 10 for white and I think you should be able to win this easily. Anyway, the point of showing these games is that if you follow all these basic principles, you can easily punish any type of early queen attack. Okay, so if you found this helpful, please do hit the like button below. I shall see you in the next one.